Well, hello, everybody, and welcome again to I'm for Fun. We're happy to have you with us today. As usual, we're going to start with some hot topics. First of all, shortage of workers. In the U.S., the economy bounces back from COVID, a downturn, but employers, especially restaurants and theme parks, find themselves really in a severe shortage of workers. And many here in the U.S. are blaming the government's approach to the stimulus payments and generous unemployment benefits that have been handed out. Unemployment remains elevated at over 6% compared to about 3.5% before the pandemic hit us. And there were about 4 million more unemployed people in March 21 than in February 2020 because people really don't want to come back to work while they're getting their unemployment. With this and the limitations parks are facing on using foreign workforces, this is really having a huge impact on the leisure industry. In the last couple of days, Mike Spanos, chairman of Six Flags, he said they're finding it difficult to fully staff their parks due to the school and COVID schedules, immigration restrictions as well, and the extended unemployment benefits that are keeping people at home. They're trying to bring back more seasonal workers through job fairs and advertising. I heard this week that they had a job fair up at one of their parks in New York, and that 9 people showed up for the job fair. Here in Cincinnati, Kings Island has to hire 4,000 workers in the next 2 weeks. It's a daunting task. They just announced a pay increase of $1 to $2 per hour to help entice employees. And again, severe shortage. So, as our good friend Ken Whiting, president of Whiting Foods, has said, labor really is our new pandemic. Ken has created what they call their Don't Call Off video to solve the problem of people who work for him calling off and just not coming into work and addressing their shifts. This program, Don't Call Off, won the Brass Ring Award several years ago, and they've revised it. And I think really I've watched it. It's something that all of us in the industry should take a look at and utilize. And it can be found at www.don'tcalloff.com. It's really well worth the look, and if it helps save some employees this season from calling off, what can you lose? Out in California, the parks are open. California theme parks have mostly reopened. The latest of these was Disneyland, which reopened Friday after 412 days of silence. They're now open to California residents at a limited capacity, and that's going to change as things begin to subside in the COVID world. The great news is enthusiasms remained high, and the guests were really thrilled to get back. People were crying, literally, to get back into the parks out in California when they reopened. Worldwide COVID update, over 1 billion vaccine doses have been administered. The last 7 days, an average of 19 million vaccines have been administered. And of these, the US and China account for about 45% of that total. In the USA, more than 56% of adults have received at least one dose. And President Biden has set a goal yesterday of reaching 70% of adults by July 4th. So an admirable goal. And we've hit the first one that he said, so let's hope that that continues. Over in India, they're going through a serious surge in cases. It's just unbelievable what they're putting up with. As of yesterday, the country is reporting over 400,000 new cases in 24 hours, and as well as over 3,700 deaths each day. It's a 12th straight day of more than 300,000 cases per day. Currently, deaths are over 220,000 people. India accounted for about 45% of the new cases last week globally. Lessening of COVID protocols. Parks worldwide continue to operate within capacity limits and safety protocols that were put in place due to COVID. However, many parks are now moving towards easing their requirements for masks and other protocols, and that's good news. Here in Ohio, Cedar Point and Kings Island, part of the Cedar Fair organization, are ditching their requirements to wear masks outside. You may have to wear them inside and on some of the indoor attractions. Disney World in Florida recently changed their mask policy, which now allows guests to remove their masks for taking photos and basically the same whether outside. At Dollywood, visitors can remove their face coverings when they're outside and able to maintain 6 feet of space. So slowly but surely here in the U.S., we're seeing improvement, and we want to stay on this path. Well, today is a special day for the I'm for Fun podcast. I have two longtime friends who are joining me today, two really great individuals who have supported our industry for decades in Asia and around the world. They've been great ambassadors. I'd like to introduce them independently here. First, I want to introduce Tan Sri Richard Koh. Richard's been involved in a host of amusement facilities in Malaysia and throughout Asia, and all with great success, I should say. He was awarded the honorary title of Tan Sri, bestowed to someone with the highest ranking and stature and known for their excellent contribution to their country. It's the second most senior title at the federal level that you can receive in Malaysia. He's the chairman of the Only World Group, which boasts a wide portfolio of attractions. Since 2002, Richard has been president of Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Malaysia. He's the founder and managing director of the largest theme park chain, water theme park chain in Malaysia. And for the industry, he's the current president of the Malaysian Association of Theme Parks and Family Attractions, which he helped organize. He's also a current advisor for IAPA and in the Pacific region, and has an illustrious career. So we're happy to have Richard with us today. Next is Mario Mamon, chairman and president of the Enchanted Kingdom, Manila, Philippines. Before he developed Enchanted Kingdom, Mario was a farmer. He was involved in managing the family business that was focused on agribusiness and enterprises like sugarcane farming and raising livestock. Mario, he was smart enough to spot a gap in the market and with no prior knowledge of the attraction industry, he transformed 12 hectares of barren land in Laguna and created the first world theme park in the Philippines back in 1995, 25 years ago. Hard to believe. Mario was first elected in 1999 to the board of directors of IAPA, and after that term, he was elected to the third vice chair in 2011. And then in 2014, Mario became the first and only Asian and Filipino to become the chairman of IAPA, which was, we're very proud of that. Locally, Mario has spearheaded the organization of the Philippine Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, helping align other local attractions with the global association with regard to international safety and operational standing. So, gentlemen, welcome. If you both turn on your sets there, we'll get you on screen and welcome you to the I'm for Fun podcast. There they are. Two handsome guys. I told them they never get older. They always look the same. I've known these guys, one for 30 plus years and one 25 plus years, and they always look the same. So welcome, Mario. Welcome, Richard, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis, for inviting us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listeners.
Yeah, and listen, that's a good welcome because we've got people on from all around the world. We'll have about 25 countries on today, and several hundred people are joining us to hear about Asia and hear about what's happening in Malaysia, in the Philippines, the ASEAN region, and Asia. And there are not two better spokespersons for our industry than you guys to help us. So I'm going to dive right into a couple of questions. I'll kind of go back and forth because we don't want to step on one another and let you guys answer. But please jump in if you have something you want to add. First of all, as we have been discussing weekly on our podcast and getting very tired of it, COVID and the impact it's had. And as we've said, it's a yo-yo. It goes up and down and goes up and down. And we just learned in prepping for our presentation today that you both are going on lockdown again. So maybe Richard, I'll start with you. You can talk a little bit about what you've been through with COVID, and then Mario will bounce over to you.
Okay. When MCO was implemented early last year, we were all shocked. We don't know what we were supposed to do. So, but we learned through our mistake, and today, tomorrow, in fact, we are going to lock down again. This is the third time we're going to be locked down. So
number
we are
three.
sort of number 3. So we are sort of used to it, and our customers are also used to it now. When we first locked down, they were all eager to come back. And when is the theme parks going to open?
Yeah.
Now, the third lockdown tomorrow, starting tomorrow, everybody was sort of used to it now. So it's nothing that we have gone through the hard time until now. So we have to implement a lot of things that is out from the normal. Especially now, we have to provide better personal service to our customer and give them personal service, because the capacity we are operating on 50% capacity right now in all our water park, FEC, and the indoor theme park. They all operate on 50% capacity now. So,
what about you, Mario? What are you seeing?
Well,
Thank you.
in our case, I think we've been the country with the longest lockdown. But I guess it had gone both ways, because when the virus really first hit sometime in late March of last year, we were on complete lockdown. And it was only towards the start of June that the level of the lockdown or the quarantine levels were adjusted. And actually, from late March up to June, we really were closed and couldn't operate. But we had to prepare and start to plan for reopening in the new normal, meaning, as Richard said, we had to put in a lot of things to be able to adhere to the new guidelines of government. First of which was, of course, reduced capacity, both in the park and in the rides. So come June, we were able to slowly get back to the office, but still closed. And it was only on October 17, when the quarantine levels were further lifted, that we were able to reopen. But of course, from October 17 up to March 21, and reduced capacity, fear of the pandemic, and then age limitations, dire economic surroundings, plus bad weather in November contributed to mixed results early on. But just as we were experiencing better results the first quarter of 2021, then what we call the second surge arrived because of the different mutations of the virus, such that infections really increased for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And so since April 18, we've been on stricter quarantine, and that's up to April 30, and then from May 1 to May 14, it's a bit lighter now, and we're hoping that if things improve by May 15th, we may be allowed to reopen businesses, including the park.
Let me ask you both something. Those statistics, that up and down, that's catastrophic. I understand on a lot of bases, and we'll talk about that. But when you look at the GDP of Malaysia, it's responsible for about 6%. Leisure is of the GDP in Malaysia. In the Philippines, even higher. It's about 12% of the GDP. Thailand, our friend Wudachai up there, 15% of the GDP. And down in Indonesia, where Rahmat operates a lot of his facilities, is 6%. So you take those percentages, you roll those together, and you look at the ASEAN region, the 11 countries, and I didn't go to all of the countries, but those are the biggest. That's a huge hit on the GDP of those countries. And I guess the question I have is, how quickly can that come back once everything is wonderful and beautiful again? Please jump in, Mario.
Yeah. Well, I think when the pandemic first set in, we were really in no man's land. We didn't know what to expect. And as the months went on last year, we really kept ourselves positive, not infected, but positive in our outlook about the future. But as we can observe now, it's not only us in the Philippines, but also in the whole ASEAN region, and of course, South Asia, in India.
Yeah.
And it seems that this won't go away soon. And if ever there are better developments in the coming months because of more vaccinations and then lower maybe infections, then the primary objective really is to start the long recovery process. But I don't see it ending this year. Maybe 2022 will be better. But if you look from this point on, maybe it's about 3 to 5 years, hopefully sooner.
Yeah. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, my estimation, I think, will be probably until 2023 to be able to, the whole economy to come back again.
Yeah.
So due to, we are the third lockdown again. So I guess 2023 will be more realistic that the economy will come back.
Well, the question I have for both of you is, you both have large operations, you both employ a lot of people, and our listeners and viewers, and we're starting to get questions in, which I'm going to feed you here in a few minutes. But Pam, if you could scroll down there to the top one there from Tim Viox. Our friend Tim Viox, who you know, he said, Dennis, as I travel across the U.S., I'm seeing a high level of enthusiasm and optimism regarding the upcoming summer season. And we are seeing that. Save the labor shortage, as you talked about. Are you seeing this same type of enthusiasm and optimism for Asia Pacific? Rich, you kind of addressed that a little bit, but what about the employee situation? Is it similar to the U.S.? Rich, you want to take that first?
Basing on the employee, lucky thing that the government is also subsidizing some of the salaries. Mm-hmm. So we are trying our best to keep some of the staff on our payroll, but mostly now because it's on off. So we are doing also unpaid leave. So they go on unpaid leave. If they come to work, then we pay them. So it has to be a give and take between the employer and the employee now.
What would you say your loss has been? What would you say your loss of your total employee base has been that you don't think will come back?
Probably about 30%.
30%.
Yeah, 30%.
will not return.
They may or may not return because
But you-
some then they go and look for new jobs. Some a
Yeah.
lot they went into food business on their own.
Yeah,
They cook.
exactly.
Oh, yeah,
What about you,
they do
Mario?
home cook. They do home cook and then they do delivery. So a lot of this happens here right now, and
Yeah.
yeah, and especially the government is also encouraging it. The government is allowing like street vendors to go on the street. And you don't need to get a license, a business license for it as well. So they can go on the street and they sell any food and they do delivery, especially delivery. So a lot of them are doing this now.
What about you, Mario?
Yeah, I agree with Richard. We have the same situation here. As far as we're concerned, like Richard, we also were able to get some subsidies and assistance from the government, but it's not as much as what I think the Malaysian government has provided for their nationals. For us, we've also had to dig deep into our pockets and maybe like offer their leaves in
Mhm.
advance of 2020 and even 2021. And then and of course we have to realize that the the reduced work hours that we can give them sometimes is not enough to tide them over on a monthly basis. So like Richard, we've also been experiencing turnover because this is what you call compassionate turnover, because you can't hold on to some people who need more than what we can provide for them. So we allow them part-time employment, but there are some who would rather go to an industry or another employment opportunity that would give them a 5-day work week instead of us
Yeah.
who right now can only give 2 or 3 days a week.
Here's one for both, and we understand that same kind of things happening here in the U.S. as I addressed in the hot topics with the government. Our people, a lot of our young workforce, they don't want to come back to work right now. They're getting all of this unemployment, and they're saying, "Why would I come back for $200 more a week? I can sit at home, play my Xbox and my Wii, and have fun." And it's a challenging problem. It truly is. I think one of our, and it's here to stay. I think that's going to carry forward. Here's a question from our good friend Dan Stokich, who you probably know over at Carrier Bid. Dan, great friend of the association. He said, "Gentlemen, what are the initiatives for the vaccines in your countries?" He said, "Private and government, or how are they driven?" Mario, you want to take that?
Originally, it was all government driven. They wanted to centralize the procurement of the vaccines wherever they come from.
Yeah.
But obviously, our government has a preference for a certain vaccine. But in the end, because of the clamor and because of the initiatives of the private sector, we have seen some private sector groups or groups of companies who made the initiative, made representations to government that they would like to procure in bulk and even give a certain percentage or a certain number of doses to the government for them to use. So it has loosened up a bit, and so we are expecting this coming June onwards to have almost all of the branded vaccines available.
What percentage, Mario, of the Philippine population is vaccinated now? Do you know?
Right now, fully vaccinated, meaning 2 jabs, less than 1%.
Ooh.
And then those that have been at least jabbed, uh, about less than 2 million out of 110 million.
How about you, Richard?
Here mainly now is all administrated by the government. We have made an appeal to allow the private hospital and the clinic to do vaccination privately. Still in the process of working out that system, because the private can't purchase the vaccine. So the government have to purchase the vaccine, and the requirement from the uh, private hospital to then do the administration. So still working out the costing, so have not been implemented. So right now, only about 500,000 people have been vaccinated right
How
now.
many?
Of
What's the population
our
now?
our population is about 32 million.
32 million.
So it's only a very small
Yeah.
amount. So that is why we also started late. I think we only started about 1.5 months ago.
1.5 months.
Yeah, that's right. So
You may have
we
seen
only
where both of you may have seen last month, 2 months ago, where some of the members of our association, Disney, Six Flags, a few others, they opened some of their facilities because of the ability to handle mass people.
Vaccination.
And yeah, and
Vaccination.
offered vaccinations. Now, obviously, that's predicated upon having the vaccine available to be able to do that, but something to keep in mind. Here's another question from somebody you both know, Sarah Shea over at Premier Rides.
Oh, hi.
We love Sarah. She says hi to both of you and misses you. She said, guys, for many regions around the world, capital purchases, rides and attractions and other things were either stopped or delayed. She said, can you share what you're seeing in your region? Are new contracts being awarded? And if so, in what year do you see new major attractions opening? You want to take that one, Rich, first?
There is a major water park in process. Still entering. They have already did the purchase, and but the latest new one, I think all are put on hold, except that water park. The rest are small FEC, which also we put on hold because it is in the shopping mall. So we have actually a few location that we actually gone and signed up the agreement, but because of this MCO and the virus, so we have stopped. We are hold it till further notice because we don't know when this will be normalized. So we don't want to get involved in paying rentals and things like that.
Sure. No, that's a
So
major.
yeah. So, but the new investment probably will restart again. Hopefully, people start planning. End of 2022. There's a possibility of people, investor looking at it.
Mario, I know you have your new spinning coaster attraction coming on from, I believe you bought that from our friends at Mach, and that's going to be, I don't think it got fully introduced last year, but it's coming on in 2021. What do you think is going to be that supplier pipeline? Obviously what we saw, everybody that had rides and attractions and plans, they pretty much exhausted themselves in 2020 and the pipe emptied. So now we're trying to repack that pipe. What's your feeling?
Well, first of all, I think many of our friends know that Enchanted Kingdom is celebrating its 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
That anniversary should have started October of 2020. So, and it was also in January of 2020, wherein government approved our application to be a tourism enterprise zone. What this means is that with our current development and our future development, we will be able to avail of incentives from government such that to incentivize us. And when the pandemic lockdown came in, the first shipment for our new attraction for our 25th anniversary, which was supposed to have been October, was already between Germany and Manila. So we really had to make a decision on what to do. whether to continue shipping the rest of the components or just having it stored in Germany, where it would have been more expensive. Fortunately, our friends, our industry friends from Mac, came out with very creative ways by which we were able to ship everything here. And in fact, we were able to install and erect the ride for the last 9 months with minimal presence from the manufacturer. They came in only to audit and finish the sensitive items. But I'm happy to declare that I've ridden on the ride. We enjoyed it, and we're opening it hopefully when we reopen before the end of May. Now, as far as our other plans are concerned, I think, as I said earlier, everything might be pushed back around 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
And that, I think, that goes for everyone in the tourism and travel sector here, because it's really very hard hit.
One of the things that was just reported in the news, Visa put out some information. We watch all of this around the world, and they said that, I thought this was interesting, 73% of the Asians check in online while they're on holidays, and as many as 71% they share their experiences on the social media sites, and that's become such a really important part of it. How important is that to both your businesses, Richard, you and Maria? How, Richard, why don't you take the first part?
Yeah, it's
Social
very
media, how
important.
important?
Yeah, it's very, very important now with the internet and these uh, e-commerce platform. Very important, especially purchasing tickets online, uh, and then getting all these influential people to view your park, give you feedback.
Yeah.
It's very important. Yeah, it's very important part, especially online ticketing has taken most of the part of the purchasing of tickets uh, on site. So it's a very, we are spending a lot of money to improve all our uh, e-commerce platform.
And that'll be very important, much more in the future than it has been, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes. In
How
fact,
about you, Mario?
we are looking at improving, adding in more in e-commerce platform
Yeah. How
to
about you,
improve our
Mario?
business. Yeah.
I agree. I agree totally. We all know that from ever since, for example, I entered the industry, a lot of changes have happened as far as information technology is concerned. Social media has evolved from a simple networking platform and is now very important as far as consumer trends are concerned. For Enchanted Kingdom, firstly, it's through social media that we're able to maintain our connection with our guests, because by coming up with certain social media posts and other messages, we're able to stay connected with them and show them some things that they used to enjoy in the park. So virtual we even have virtual rides to let them experience the ride while just through the internet. And then, of course, we all know that through through the phone, which I don't want to call a phone anymore. I call it a device, because I don't know how many people use it as a telephone, but more people use it as a device or an appliance by which they can surf, they can buy, they can video conference,
Yeah.
etc. No,
Yeah.
so we're very fortunate that we were able to slowly ramp up our IT and our social digital media presence lucky that we had one of our daughters come home from the States and do the work that I didn't and Cynthia didn't understand too much. So we're
Takes a
happy
young
that
person.
we're we're happy that we had some young persons join us and understand social media better, and it's working very well, including our online ticketing for online ticketing, online merchandise sales. We're expanding everything also.
Yeah. Point of sales and selling real time.
Yeah. Well,
It's
you
very,
know,
very important part of the business now.
one thing we've seen here, we've talked about on other podcasts, is the touchless, contactless, uh, and using the device, as you say, Mario, has been wonderful for that in the theme parks. And we've seen Six Flags, Universal, Disney, Cedar, they've all indicated in tremendous percentage increase in internal per capita spend. Are you guys seeing the same thing? Have you been able to implement that yet?
Yes.
Yeah, we go ahead,
Yeah.
Mario.
Yeah. Because before, most of our tickets were pre-booked and bought at the gate. But with the online platform that we have now, at least 60 to 70% of our guests buy online, and also even fill up their health forms online, such that we're able to estimate more or less how many people will go to the park. And then also we've introduced a cashless system by which they can just use cards, their accounts through their phone and through cards. They don't have to bring and use cash inside the park, both for food, merchandise, and tickets. And we're expanding this further.
How about you,
Richard?
Rich?
Yeah. Um, I think during the reopening of the park the past few months, our sales actually our ticket sales actually went through the internet. Nearly 80% of the ticket sales is from the internet. Uh,
Wow,
Before we were about
strong.
90% on site, but now we are the other way around.
Hmm.
So internet actually plays a very important part of the business now. So I guess in the future, probably 90% of the ticket will be sold through online ticketing. Yeah.
I read an article recently about the internet and said where we are with the internet is literally the tip of the iceberg. It said it's
Yeah.
where we are when electricity came into our lives. And look at all of the things that happened after that, from refrigeration and vacuuming to everything. So you can imagine where it's going to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I think that will be totally cashless and totally online. I believe it's coming that
Yeah.
way.
And it also saves manpower. We don't have to
Mhm.
have 10 cashier, in the cashier
Yeah.
counter to sell tickets. Yeah.
Well, that
And
ties into our problem. Well, yeah,
and
yeah,
less mistake as well.
less mistakes. Yeah, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
and less long queue in the park.
Well,
So it's
what,
yeah, I think that the virus pushes to technology.
well, I've said many times that a lot of things we've learned a lot. We've had to go back to zero-based planning, not budgeting. And one of the great things that came out of it that accelerated this contactless and touchless. And we're seeing that. Richard, I have a question here for you. It says, Tan Sri Koh, could you please tell us about the impact you expect from the opening of the $800 million Genting Skyworlds theme park that is supposed to open later this year? How will it boost the economy and impact Malaysia and the amusement industry?
If everything goes well, no more lockdown. I'm sure it will double or triple the revenue for Genting. Yeah, we are planning to open close end of July, August. So, but hopefully, the pandemic will be, especially here, they lock down the interstate. If interstate is reopened by then, I think the impact will be good. But if interstate is not allowed, I think we'll be back to square one.
And there's a
So,
tag on to that question for you to answer. Is they asked, and what will the employment situation be there? Are there going to be enough
oh yeah,
employees?
of course, right now they have a lot being cut down. So of course, once we reopen, we have to rehire. Genting will have to rehire a lot of new people, train people. So
Yeah.
it's a chicken and egg situation now. Whether we open or we not open. It's the it's the situation that we is waiting for the answer. I think probably will be end of the year, early next year, will then feel the impact. But definitely, everybody is expecting the Sky World theme park to be open. It's now renamed Sky World.
Sky World. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the situation. But
So
if
that's a ray of positive outlook on the come for the market and the area, the region.
yeah, everybody is waiting for, can't wait to wait to have the park reopen. So everybody is waiting for it.
Yeah. Mario,
Yeah.
any tag on that one?
Uh, I guess it's really in what level of quarantine restrictions we will
Yeah.
be. As Richard said, in their case, when he says interstate, even if you're just an hour's drive away from KL, you cannot go to Genting.
Genting.
Yeah.
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 So that's their problem. In our case, we look at it more at age restrictions. One reason we have limited crowds in the park is that anybody below 15 years of age are not allowed outside of their homes, and
Mm.
anybody 66 and older are not. So you can imagine that young families who would love to bring their children to the fresh open air environment of the park cannot do so. And that's maybe one reason why, with the number of guests that we had, which were limited to people 15 to 60 or 65 years old, the per capita went up because they were also spending more, and we were catering to a different market altogether. But we were losing out to the younger ones, to the point that one of our zones, which is dedicated for younger children, had to be closed and not operated.
Um,
Oh,
Go ahead,
of
Richard.
course, I think I think we also international, the opening of the international market is also very
Yeah.
important. Depend on the success of the park. If international market is not open, Singaporean can't over, the people from Indonesia can't come over to Malaysia, then there will be a limit to what we can do. The population of Malaysia is only 32 million. So whatever is it, we can't really uh, cover the market unless international market is open.
Yeah,
It's
I think
interesting.
what Richard is also saying is that we have a different situation in the Philippines, but as far as Malaysia is concerned, the park was built for a certain capacity, and they
Yeah.
Yeah,
factored in tourists or
yeah,
people from Singapore, from Indonesia, from the Philippines. Whereas I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunately for us. For us, fortunately, our primary market is our domestic tourism market. And we have about before COVID, we had more than 50 million Filipinos going around the country. So, and then that's why we had a very low foreign tourist market, but we would survive and thrive even with our domestic tourist market.
And you know what's interesting? Recently, Singapore put out some information, and they talked about and they're using the word we coined over here in America, the staycation. And they say that the Singapore families are really embracing the staycation right now. And as you both know, and I do, I've been there many times. Singapore is 22 by 44. It's tiny, and so the staycation is kind of close in, but that's happening. And would you say that that's what you're saying, Mario? That's happening there, Rich? You're bound by state provinces. You can't move back and forth, so people are staying close.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, you mentioned staycation. Actually, when quarantine levels were being loosened up during the third and fourth quarter of 2020, that was a key word, staycation, because people in the metropolitan areas wanted to go out into a fresher environment. And this was one way by which hotels in the provinces or in the tourist areas can attract not foreign tourists, but families from the cities. And it was very popular because they would spend weekends in the hotel facilities or resort.
Let me shift gears here just a little bit. As you both know, this hour goes very fast, and with two guests, we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to shift to the international aspect, IAAPA, your trade associations, and the moves. We're getting some questions in. I've got boards all around me here that are coming in, and a couple of the questions, I'll kind of homogenize them for you. It says, do you think that all of the kind of think these questions too? Do you think all of the international shows and exhibits that go on are necessary? That's one part. Number two is, do you think that you and other Asians from your markets will travel to IAAPA this year? And one is, this is from Sarah. She says, I've seen a push for IAAPA to focus on the regional events, although they have very fluid dates right now, kind of moving. I'm curious when you believe the international travel to these kinds of events will return. And from Paula, she adds on to that and she says, do you think that, again, all of the shows are necessary? And would you, for example, both of you and your teams be traveling to Asia, to the Shanghai show in Asia in August? So, Rich, you want to take the first part?
Yeah, definitely I'll be there. I mean, if we are allowed to go there, it's nothing like, seeing the thing and feeling the thing and touching the thing yourself.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's still good to go and visit, and we miss already two shows, two or three shows in US and in Asia. So we all eager to get out there.
Do you think that the economics will play a role in that, though, because of numbers being down, the attendance being a little less?
Yeah, of course. I think attendance will probably not as good as before. Definitely, I think I would say maybe 50% drop of attendance.
Drop, yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mario?
I think number one, it depends on where you put the show. If it's regional, for example, if you put it in mainland China, then I think you will still have very good attendance from the Chinese market. But as Richard said, from our part of the world, then maybe it will be very limited. And for example, for me personally, I might think twice before going myself, because I have to justify it, even though I'm the CEO. And of
Mhm.
course, in a way, our friends in the MNS uh, industry, in the manufacturers and suppliers, have already also found uh, unique ways of being able to connect with their clients and prospective clients, even without going to the show.
Mhm.
So for me, that is one way by which I can still connect with the MNS without going to the show itself. And I think really, for me personally, if not for my responsibilities and maybe for my want to continue my service to IAPA, I may sit tight for this year and
Mhm.
maybe think about it more in 2022.
What about you, Rich?
Uh, for me, it's like uh, things that I must do every year. So I think I will be there.
I saw in your history you went to Disney the first time around 1970 somewhere and got the bug. So
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
bite
That's
the
how.
bite still has an itch, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
so
right. Uh,
so
yeah.
actually I went to Disney ahead of you. The first time I went to Disney was 1968.
68. Yikes.
Oh.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm older than Richard anyway. So, but
For the record, I'm older than both of you. You like
okay,
that? Hey,
that's why.
go ahead. Go ahead. That's
No, no,
all.
I was just going to throw in some light moment, because I was going to say that if I wanted to go to the show and it was in mainland China, then I have to get this certain vaccine. I was vaccinated with the vaccine that permits me to go to the US and Europe. But to be able to go to China,
Kind
I
of
need
different
another
story.
kind of vaccine.
Different story.
Yeah.
Here's someone you both know, Victor Danow. You know Victor very well.
Hi, Victor.
He said, "How do you guys foresee passports? Can they? How do you foresee passports? Can changes on the interstate and international travel restrictions occur, or will they not make a difference in the near term? At the moment, it's still a 14 to 21 day quarantine to China." And how can anyone justify 14 days to get in and probably another 14 days to get back home if possible? So what do you see there? Richard, I'll give that to you first because you're ready to travel.
I think the government is working something about this vaccine passport.
Yeah.
So if you are vaccinated, then probably you don't need to be quarantined. So I think that is the basic that they are working on. So I don't know whether you will take further than that. If that happens, then of course we can travel. Otherwise, like you say, if we're going to stay 14 days in Shanghai
Yeah.
doing nothing in the hotel, so it's like they say it's like a prison. You can't get out of the room. They will
Yeah.
deliver food at your doorstep, and then you pick up your food. So for 14 days, quarantine, I think we can forget about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
important thing is the vaccine passport. If that can work out between the government, then of course you don't need to quarantine. Then it's a possibility of traveling again. Yeah.
One of the manufacturers, and then I'll come right to you on that. Hold your thought, Mario. One of the manufacturers just said it costs us a lot of money to pack our bags, pack our shows, pack our booths, and come to these shows all over the world. There's so many more shows now than ever before. What Mario said is true. We can reach them in different ways. Uh, so that has to be taken into consideration. It's more of a comment than
Yeah.
anything.
But I think
So
going to the show is more of like an education, like finding new attraction and things like that, and meeting, of course, the old friends like you, and
camaraderie, yeah, is a big thing.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So that is important, and we exchange idea, educate, and solve a problem, give feedback. So that's why the value of the exhibition is important. But of course, like Mario said, we can always do internet. But then that only if you know a certain product that you want and you know where to get it from. So of course,
Yeah.
then you just through internet.
Well, I
But
think a good
again,
example, I was just going to
yeah,
say, I think a good example of a change that happened as a result of
yeah,
COVID, which isn't going to rebound totally, was the working from home, the way we've done a lot here in America. I mean, most of our staff here at ITPS works from home now and have for 10 months or so. No,
Mm.
how many
Mm.
months now? 14 months. And
yeah,
yeah, and productivity's high and we're good. So will that come back? And I guess the same thing applies to attendance and shows and visitation. Mario, you
Yeah,
were going to say something.
yeah, because I was going to go back to Victor's question, and I think you can relate to this, Dennis, because you said you're older than me. Do you remember? Because I remember the first few times that I traveled abroad, I had a WHO vaccination sort of booklet, and it had
Yes,
to be
Mm,
part
yeah,
of
yeah,
your passport
yeah.
for tuberculosis or whatever like that. So I
absolutely.
think
Mm.
so. I think
Yellow
this
fever.
time, yeah, yeah, like that, especially going to Africa or something. But
Yeah.
this time, I think it's a bit more high tech, and it really depends on how different countries will accept it. But like I know for our Philippine Airlines, they're already piloting an IATA online, like a vaccine passport, wherein you register. So the IATA, the International Air Travel Association, is already piloting something to this effect.
Yeah.
And really, this is needed if we want to avoid the situation of being quarantined before and after.
Yeah. Well, we said early on in our podcast that the QR code is coming uh, not only to find out the weather report, but it's to find out these types of things you're talking about. And I believe we're all going to have our QR code at some point in time. Francine Gonzalez has just sent in a question, and she said, gentlemen, are you seeing facilities closing permanently as a result of the shutdowns, or will everybody reopen? Mario?
Okay. Speaking for the Philippines, in our association, there are only a handful of us with uh, with what you call outdoor facilities. So the outdoor parks have been able to reopen when possible, but a majority of our members are indoor or our family entertainment centers. And the foremost closing that we've had in August of 2020, after only about 5 years of operation, is Kidzania, Manila.
Huh?
So in August of last year, they had to close permanently because the target age group, was totally hit, meaning it's so hard to maintain the business. And we've seen that with other facilities that focus on the young, and of course those that are inside the malls, because in the malls it was only recently allowed to reopen. So if we heard it right from our friend in Indonesia, from Rahmat, it was
Yes.
only a few months ago that he was allowed to reopen after more than a year also being closed.
And
And
Rockmont has
he's
what, over 200 facilities?
Yes, and the sad thing, most of the mall operators, after giving a holiday on rental, continued to charge after, let's say, 6 months. After 6 months was up, they continued charging for facilities that weren't able to do any business.
Wow. Yeah. How do you keep up with that? There's no way.
Yeah.
Um, um, two more real quick questions. I always tell all of my guests, this is the quickest hour in the week, and we're already coming up on the hour. And and we're going to have to close here in a second. But as we look at Asia as a whole, do you think Asia is going to surpass the USA in terms of attendance? And what do you think the continuing factors are in Asia that drive this explosion? I mean, we have seen forecasts from analysts that said Asia is going to be the dominant market, and I truly believe that. I believe that for the last 35 years. Start with you, Richard, and then go to you, Mario.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the longer term, Asia Pacific, around this region, attendance will surpass America, especially. Yeah, I think it will happen. Especially some of the Chinese parks is already happening. Some, the numbers has gone up tremendously, the numbers. So it will. And then India is also coming online. India, in fact, we have been talking to some India developer. They are also very keen to develop theme parks in a bigger scale. So I think India, the next few years, Indonesia as well, is a big market. It's still a lot of country is still untapped. So
a lot of opportunity there, isn't there?
Yeah. So it's still very, very potential. But also depending on the country, especially like our country, the entertainment tax issue is 25%. So unless we engage with the government to exempt that 25%, I'm sure the theme park industry will grow very, very in a big way.
Good news.
Yes.
Mario,
Yeah.
you want to tack on to that?
Yeah, I agree with Richard. I also still believe that it's only a matter of time that Asia Pacific will surpass North America in terms of parks and attendance. But of
Wow.
course, we all know that the global pandemic just threw a monkey wrench on that. So
Yeah.
it will be pushed back a few more years. But the main reason for this is, well, if I'm not mistaken, out of the top 5 countries in the world, you have 3 in Asia as far as population is concerned. And I think Richard mentioned China, India, and Indonesia.
Indonesia.
So even among those 3, add the Philippines with another 100 million. So that's a whole lot of people. And if the economies can recover and the thrust of development in China and then in India can restart, then we can see the numbers really come maybe in I would say about 8 to 10 years.
8 to 10. I think you're in the window for sure. Well, I'm going to stop you for a moment there. I've got one more. Well, we've got a lot more questions, but one just came up, and you guys will like this from probably someone you don't know in South America, Marcelo Goodclass. He said, "Hi guys." he said here in Brazil, he said we're seeing an increase in per capita spend. And he said, you guys can just answer yes or no on this because we're a little long. He said, do you believe per cap spending after the pandemic is going to stay up because the families are going to demand more entertainment? That's what's happening here in his facilities in Brazil. Richard?
Yeah, that happened to our park as well. Per cap spending is higher than before. Yeah, totally agree.
You think it'll continue and hang in there then?
Yes, as soon as everything is back, I think it will fly because people are hungry. They want to spend.
That's what Marcelo's saying exactly.
Yeah,
Mario?
Yeah. I agree also with Richard. Our per caps now are up also because of the market segment that we are attracting now. And we have what you call revenge tourism or revenge spending. These are people that have been kept in their homes, in their condos, and just waiting for the signal that the parks are open. They can go out interstate, and we're anticipating that, and we're preparing for that, hopefully, so that it increases our chances for a quick recovery.
Well, in all
Yeah.
my reading and looking, I haven't heard the word revenge spending, but I love it. We'll show you. We're going to come out and spend all of our money at your place. That's wonderful.
Please.
Yeah, please.
Please. Well, listen,
Please come
gentlemen.
tomorrow.
Yeah, please come. Well, they can't come tomorrow, can they? Well, Mario, Richard, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to have you. I was looking forward so much to having you both on, and you certainly didn't let me or any of our guests down. And we've got a lot of people, and more questions are coming in, and we'll follow up with you on some of those. And if you have a few minutes, you can answer them. We'll put them in our daily news. But thank you, Mario. Thank you, Richard, so much. Really.
Thank you.
Enjoyed having you.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys
thank you, Dennis.
represent our industry so well globally. Thank you. So I'll
Thank you.
leave you with a couple of comments here. First of all, as we've talked today, one of the things I want to continue to say is we talk about the new normal and getting back to normal. Well, I believe that we can be better. We don't want to go back to being normal. We can be better than we were in 2020. And you both have talked about that and things you've learned and implemented. And we've heard that from our other guests who've been on. So let's be better than we were, and let's not go back to the norm. Let's go back to being better. My next guest coming up on May the 19th, I'm happy to announce is good friend of all three of us, Jim Pattison's coming on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, president of Ripley's Entertainment.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, yeah. And Jim, a longtime friend of all of us, and you both have done business with him, and he certainly is one of our most well-known representatives of the leisure industry globally. And we can't wait to get him back and get to the show back, because we want him and Jim Shea to put their suite on again so we can all go up and have a little party at IAPA. That's one of the highlights.
Yeah.
So we welcome Jim, and we're happy to have him on. And then, as I've said, we've got Jim Futrell, and we have Tim O'Brien coming on, two of our industry historians. And great storytellers. So we're looking forward to having that. We have more people coming on, but I don't have time to go into that today. So I'm going to say thank you around the world. It's one of our largest attendance. Thank you guys for being with us. And we will all meet and be together soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.